a question I'm often asked is, what is the most important piece of equipment in your studio? And I will say this is, so I had to think about this, and I will say this one is, it's not the most important thing in just my studio. This is the most important thing in every studio, and that is your monitoring chain. Now, the reason I say your monitoring chain is because when you think about it, you could have the best EQ, you could have the best compressor, you could have the best everything, right? But ultimately, if you're not hearing it right, then it's not the best, because whatever that is, if what's coming to your ears isn't right, then whatever you're doing on the best whatever is wrong. So I would always say it's the monitoring chain. So you're talking the DA converter, any room correction that's in between, and your monitoring. For me here, you'll notice behind me I've got 7 CI140 PMC speakers. I've got another 4 around the back of the room here, and I've got 4 over the top of the room. So this is a Dolby Atmos setup. The speakers have to be so accurate, have to be so correct. Everything in that chain, from outputting from my computer to my speakers, has to be the best it possibly can. And this doesn't just go for my studio, this goes for every studio. I feel that it is the most important point. The most important point is the monitoring chain. Now, we could have whatever beforehand, but ultimately, if we're not hearing it right, then we're never doing the right thing back here. So let's say, for argument's sake, we've got an EQ, and we're working on an EQ, and it's a Maselec MEA2, and it's unbelievable, and it sounds incredible, right? We work on it in this room, for instance. Now, what we hear, we make the correct adjustments because our monitoring chain is so good. You work with the same EQ through, let's say, a Focusrite Scarlett interface, and then through to some KRK speakers. Now, KRKs or Yamahas or something like that, at the lower end of the speaker price point, they aren't 100% accurate. They aren't accurate. Like KRKs, for instance, the Rockets, they're going to give you a low-end bump. They sound very bassy. They're hyped in the low end. So what's going to end up happening there? Let's say we're using the MEA2, the Maselec MEA2, best compressor ever, best EQ ever, sorry. You're using that. Now, when it comes to EQing that kick drum, you're putting the weight into the low end. The weight's already in the low end. The weight's in the speaker, right? So when you're EQing down here on the Maselec, you're not putting as much low end in, but you're hearing it with loads of low end because your speaker has loads of low end. Your output, your monitoring has loads of low end. Now the problem is you put that into my room where I've got a 80 grand output monitoring chain. I'm hearing 100% accurate audio. So what I then hear is, oh, there's not enough low end in that kick. And the client or you would say, well, there is, because I can hear there's loads of low end. It's like, yeah, but your speakers have loads of low end. It's like, what is accurate? And that's why it's so important that studios like these have 100% accurate monitoring, so that we 100% know exactly how that kick is sounding, not how it's hyped to sound when in a production studio on inaccurate monitoring. Now our monitoring chain here in this room we have a matrix which have really top quality DA converters. We then go from the matrix via Dante actually to the Trinnov. So we hit a Trinnov, and on the Trinnov we do all of our room correction. So our speakers, everything is corrected 100%. I mean, this is down to the nail. It is so precise. It is unbelievable. And the difference you'll hear when you switch a Trinnov in and out is, I mean, it blows my mind. Especially using a Dolby Atmos system where you've got 15 speakers in this room, it makes a huge difference. Then you've got the stage after that, which is your monitors. And your monitors, these are brilliant monitors. These are the CI series. I mean, like I say, we've got 15 of them. Behind me here, you see there, you've got the center, and then right and left, you've got two subs as well. So you've got subs in there. Altogether across the front wall, you've got 7, 14, 21, 28 woofers. I mean, it is different class, the actual sound that you get out of these speakers. That is the most important thing for me. The most important thing is what I'm hearing, because no matter how good anything is before, ultimately it's only as good as what I can hear, right? So let's say, for argument's sake, imagine you had your system at home. You're saying, yeah, that sounds, I love my system. It sounds brilliant. You love how it sounds. Right now it's think of it like this. You was to put now an EQ over your whole system and just, I don't know, roll off some of the top, bring up some of the bottom, or roll off the sub a little bit. Now when you listen to your system, it's not accurate to what you feel is accurate. That is what the jump is from your system to my system. And it's really, really important to have a really accurate system. Now, if you had that EQ put onto your system, for instance, now think how much you would, your choices before your monitoring, how much your choices would change based on rolling off the top end of your speakers or rolling off the bottom end of the sub on your speakers. How much would that actually change the way you work with an EQ? It would massively change it. And that's why it's so important. For me, the most important point in any studio, and the most essential thing to have in any studio, is a good monitoring chain. I know this because I've in the past had not the greatest of monitoring chains, and it's only when you start upgrading your monitoring chain and you realize a great DA converter, a great room correction, and great monitoring, that you realize how important it is. And especially for someone like me, it is essential that I have great monitoring, because 99% of people are working from, let's say, a bedroom, or they're working in a room that isn't corrected, and they're working on speakers that aren't accurate, and ultimately they're not hearing the true sound that is coming out of the speakers. So when they give me their music, what I hear is 100% correct, and that's what's most important for me. And I'm sure other people will agree that the most important thing and the most essential thing in a studio is an accurate and good quality monitoring chain over anything else.